Hello, today is January 26, 2019. All right, I'm going to start this out. This is going to be what I call Act 2. I might leave the prior video up just so people can see how I can vary a little bit from one to the other, because I do ad-lib to some degree. I watched it, and it's not going to be, my videos are not going to be a contest to see how many times I will say the same things again and again, like expressions. There's one I'm using again and again that it became laughable after a little while. So I'm like, that's going down. I got to do this. Nonetheless, redo this video. So I'm going to redo the video without hopefully using that expression. I'm going to go ahead and start out with the prior video that I made yesterday, and I do think I use it at least twice in there, but hopefully beyond that, I will not. I'm going to go ahead and clip it a little bit differently at the end because I did run short of time. So I will be doing this video just a little bit differently than the first. This is a video I put together to just show an example of how this has played off in my personal life. And then I go into talking about how this works in the world at large and how creepy it gets. It's even been touched on by mainstream media outlets, and I will go into that in the video later on, where they can't explain how this is happening. And there's other examples. I did pull some up, but I am going to run short of time showing all of these other things. So we're going to stick to just a couple of them. This is, however, how it has shown itself in my own personal life. I will show it in this video, and then I'll show a couple other examples afterward. All right, what I'm going to do here is show you how predictive programming works. This is either used as a display of power, or it is to show something that's going to happen in the future, which again is a display of power nonetheless. But how it is being used here is just a bold display of power to intimidate me, and it doesn't do it. But anyway, I just more recently had been reissued a new Commerce Bank card, debit card, and a new credit card. And I did what I did with my sister's headstone, where I opaqued and covered up certain things that I didn't want people to see. But as you can see, there's my name, first initial, and last initial to my name to somewhat hide who I am. But as you can see, they have issued me cards, both which have 666 embedded into the IDs. It's used to intimidate me, to let me know that they know fully who I am. I have this going on in a lot of other places in my life. I see double and triple digits all day long. So my point in all of this is a very real thing. Most people are not aware of it. I do think there is some possibility with regard to predictive programming in some situations that has to deal with something called Mandela effect that I will bring up in another video. But nonetheless, I did want to show how this has exhibited itself in my personal life. Okay, so we'll move on from there. Now, here is another example of how predictive programming has been boldly displayed in front of me. This example of predictive programming began when I went into a space I had been working on right after a conversation involving being under constant spiritual attack. I had just began showing my mother what Freemasonry Illuminati hand signs were about. There are many they use, each is a type of conveyance. This particular one is called the Devil's Horn. This is just an occult book where somebody has done something creepy. It looks like they used clay and they made the Devil's Horn hand sign. This has been used a long time now. Obviously, you can see this is a Civil War picture. This goes back many centuries. People think it's trendy, that Dio and Kiss were the ones that coined this thing in the 70s. It goes back so much further than that. So we've got, here is a perfect example going into the 60s. I found this online, Rare 1969 Coven Witchcraft. It's a vinyl album. This is a group, it's called Witchcraft Coven, Destroying Minds and Reaping Souls. So how very nice that they've got that as their cover lead. So there's other pictures that were in the binding sleeve of this as I looked it up online. It's gross. And you've got this, which is on a Dio album, and you can see how terrifying that is. And we've got Anton LaVey, a famous Satanist from the 70s, with his daughter here holding the hand of the wax figure that was made in him, his name. She's going to carry on the satanic heritage, I guess, of the family. You've got him over here standing next to the goat of Mendes, which, again, he's got the hand sign. And you've got here Dark World Daniel and Manuel Ruda, the Sicarios of Satan, killer vampires. This woman and her husband stabbed a man 66 times and drank his blood. So, you can see what's going on here, all of this. This girl's completely possessed. Now, you've got, interestingly enough, Benjamin Netanyahu, the leader of Israel, making the same hand sign. This guy makes it. They all make it. This is not anything that is new here. I mean, if you look at the world leaders, I'm going to do a video on this. This goes back, people like Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, Iranian leader, they all do it. I've never done that. I didn't even know what this was until a couple of years. Actually, I don't think it was even a couple of years ago. I wouldn't have known what this was about. So we just had this conversation regarding the constant spiritual attacks. I'm talking to my mother about all this stuff, and I went downstairs. I'm working on a space, and I said, I walked in the door and again was thinking about how bad it had been lately, and I looked down and saw this. I was working on a space down on the first floor. I live in an apartment building, and I abandoned this space about a year ago when I started realizing what was going on, because I did realize this took precedent, and it didn't matter anymore. So I had pulled off the baseboard in that unit, and it's still that way right now. I walked in and all this stuff had been racing around in my mind. So I look down and I see this. And as you can see, this is rammed in the baseboard. It has been there forever and ever. And when I pulled it off, it's just insulation that people used to use in the past. They would roll up newspapers and cram it in to hide or to keep the weather from blowing through. So what is going on here? I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, first of all, I'm going to explain this a little bit when we get into closer detail. I pulled it out of the baseboard after my jaw dropped, and even at looking at it, the picture makes absolutely no sense upon closer examination. I made a comment the last time I did this video. My mother had not stewarded this very well. She says that it was handed to her like this, but I don't remember the top being torn off. Maybe that's what happened when I pulled it out of the baseboard. It is extremely fragile. You can see the fingers right here. I go in closer to show you what's going on. This thing doesn't make any sense. Look at this. You got a finger here. It looks a little longer to me than a finger should here, but now this one's way too short. I mean, there's where the start is. And this, I would say, hardly makes it even up to the knuckle. It looks like you got a bone fragment sticking out right here. I'm clueless. I can't figure it out, but how, amazing it was that it looks so very similar. Is there any accident in this? This has been in my baseboard for at least 90 years. So what are the chances I would have been thinking of this subject matter at that exact moment prior to looking down? I even texted a friend regarding it back at the time it happened. So this was back on July 25th, 2018. Crop the top off so you can't see who he is. I'm Matt. I was upstairs watching a video with my mother this morning. I've told her before that I'm under constant spiritual attack. I came downstairs in my room and was going over that in my head, and that even my dreams are being attacked. I had just come into the room and was thinking about this, and then looked down at my baseboards where I had removed the bass shoe, and I saw this. I brought it upstairs to show Mom how it just doesn't lighten up. Devil's horn. So he responds, is that the jazz musicians? I live in a home where a famous jazz musician used to live. So anyway, I responded back and said, yeah, it was a piece of paper from the 1930s. I think it was actually older than that. So this is 100 years old. And my trip back from Israel, my first steps into the airport in leaving Israel, and my last steps out of the terminal here in Kansas City. I bring this up in all my videos. There are certain numbers and shapes. That's what my whole series is about. So I'm trying to show how this stuff hounds me all the time. And it's not only because I'm aware of the shapes, but I mean, there's obviously things that go on in my personal life where I'm getting accosted by it. It's not even the average individual's experience. Now here, this is a shape that I bring up in my series. I brought it up, I believe, I think, I can't even remember the videos. Have to watch them. The number is extremely important. It's everywhere. It's encoded in the Bible. So that was the when I came into Israel, into Tel Aviv from Jerusalem. I left around 3:30 in the morning. Had to take a bus. Got off. This is exactly where the bus let me out, and I looked up. I'm like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!" So I took a snapshot of that. Went inside. Went through all the protocols. That's a story in and of itself of a woman I met. We were cordoned off. Every step of the trip back to the United States, I was set aside for extra security questioning. And the last leg of my trip in Philadelphia, I met a woman next to me, and the discussion of abduction came up, and she knew what I was talking about. And in fact, we ended up having an hour-long discussion because she had a flight that was, I think, 2 hours off. Mine was 4 at that point. And she came to Kansas City about, I guess, about a month ago, and we had dinner. She came for business reasons, and so we talked about this further. I'm really not sure I'm going to share it. When I got back to Kansas City, this was the last thing I saw in the airport. I found myself sitting in front of this thing. Late at night, I look up and I am so tired, and I'm just in a defeatist mentality at this point. I'm waiting for my mother to come pick me up. I look up and I see this. I'm like, will it never stop? But I knew exactly what I was looking at, and I knew this was traversing through space. I might go into what this means. There's a lot more being conveyed here. The sad part is Christians do not understand their Bibles. The occult does. They know so much more than the average Christian. There's a reason we are called sheep. What is actually being conveyed here, there's a lot more than it's told in symbols, but there is something being conveyed here, and it is in our Bible. So let's move on to some larger-than-life predictive programming. The Simpsons is becoming well known for predictive programming. The adversary, the word Satan or Satan, is Hebrew for adversary. This has been used on this show many times in this manner. So we've got a man and a woman, standing here dancing. And usually, when we watch videos, we watch the characters that are involved. We see a background, which is all very nice, but it doesn't impact us one way or the other. But occasionally things people pick up in the background are noted. And you can see there's something kind of odd going on here. So this was Marge versus the Monorail, and I do remember this episode. I did watch it. I used to watch The Simpsons many years ago. January 14th, 1993. And you can see there is a tall burning skyscraper back behind her. Now look at this. This is 8 years before that fateful day. And if we all remember this, there was this scene I remember where at one point, I don't know why they picked this one, because I do remember at one point where the smoke was billowing out the middle floors. This is uncanny. 8 years before the actual day of that dreadful happening. So, again. And then here we've got another scene. This is New York versus Homer Simpson, 1997. It's pretty obvious. We can see what's subtly being coded here. Boom, boom, boom. And someone else has a good eye for seeing subtle detail. This individual figured out and saw what I probably wouldn't have picked that up either, but none, I was about to say that word again. They picked it up. So we have, I think this is Lisa. I think they have 4 fingers and a thumb, but I'm not sure. Though I did see this and I thought, well, this is interesting because 3 and 3 make 6, the number of man. Now, this one is beyond eerie. This is from an episode back in 2000 where The Simpsons predicted that Trump would become president of the United States one day. Look at this, guys. This is so beyond creepy. You've got the rail matching. You've got the side rail matching. You even have the roof line. Perfect match. You've got his hands. You've got his tie color. Everything. 15 years later. And they had predicted that this would happen. Now, obviously, she's not a part of the picture here. This may have something to do with Mandela effect again. So, how can anybody explain this? Now, he's wearing the red tie. I have actually seen this photograph of him. This was a part of that episode where he's standing there in this exact same thing. I mean, the same pose, the same outfit, the flags, the whole kit and caboodle. We're talking so many years later. The Simpsons predicted a Trump presidency 16 years ago, Washington Post. In a short feature last year, Homer appeared at a Trump rally. How the Simpsons keep predicting the future, CNN. Okay, it's CNN, but nonetheless, they say, oh, I said that again. They say it. How in the world does The Simpsons keep accurately predicting the future? 11 spooky times The Simpsons predicted the future. Again, going into the fact that people are noting that they get things right, and it's eerily so. And someone predicted Trump's death, but this particular prediction was made 127 years ago. He wrote a book about it. This gets into Creepsville. So, this man also wrote that Trump would be the last president of the United States. Even though Snopes is a paid arm of the CIA to squelch any conspiracy theories, they couldn't deny this one either. The CIA coined the term conspiracy theory to denigrate any idea that pulls away from the desired narrative. You determine for yourself the chances that this could be a random chance. We've got this book. This copy might actually be in the Library of Commerce, or I guess that's the word for it, Congressional Library. Barron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. Okay, this was written up by that organization. Again, they love to deny, and even at the end, they make some vain attempt to pull you off, and it's pretty pathetic, but we'll get to that. Is Barron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey a real book from the 1890s? 2 books from the 1890s contain seemingly eerie connections to modern-day politics. More than seeming. So I did point this out the last time I made this exact same video, that we've got that shape again. You know, at one point, it would have just been a simple, square, white on white, and check inside. Why are they doing this? Because this matches, obviously, the pyramid that we see on the back of our dollar bills. So, again, we go into who the author was. He wrote also The Last President. It's the same series. Forget the moment of seemingly endless series of revelations about the Trump White House staffing woes. Okay, now we go into, let's see. I want to see if there's anything specific here in that page. I don't think there is. Okay, so we go to, again, the real books. They're archived in the Library of Commerce. We've got 1893, The Last President. Okay. Now, this deals specifically about a Russian setting, a character named Don, and a Fifth Avenue hotel in New York City where the Trump Tower currently stands. This gets so bizarre because this literally is sitting. We've got Barron Trump, the son of Donald Trump, living in the exact same location 127 years later from the Fifth Avenue Hotel. That's where the Trump Tower actually stands today. So it's written about basically underground tunnels that Barron Trump explores. The master of all masters is a man named Don. The whole thing is, fraught with pitfalls and dangers. The story begins with a scene from a panicked New York in early November describing a state of uproar after the elections of an enormously opposed outsider candidate. The entire East Side is in a state of uproar. Police officers shouting through the streets, warning city folk to stay indoors for the night. Mobs of vast size are organizing under the lead of anarchists and socialists and threaten to plunder and despoil the houses of the rich who have wronged and oppressed them for so many years. The Fifth Avenue Hotel will be the first to feel the fury of the mob, the novel continues, citing an address in New York City where Trump Tower now stands. Would the troops be in time to save it? It's just weird. It's all weird. Now, this is where, again, Snopes will do anything they can to try to pull you off. Exaggerated or outright misstated. For one thing, the main character's name is Barron Trump, not because his name is Barron, but because he is a Baron. Okay, whatever. Baron. Obviously, yeah, if somebody is trying to do something ahead of time to kind of pull you to understand that there's connection, but they're not flat out going to say it. I mean, yeah, they could talk about a cell phone being put up in the ear of Don or Barron too, which obviously has happened, but no one's going to go that far with it. That's what predictive programming it is. It's always a hint. So what do you think? We've got the book. So when we see a double-headed Masonic phoenix symbol matching his Russian counterpart, now this is Trump's family crest. Trump International Golf Links, Scotland. I mentioned this the last time I did this video, that Scotland is a part of the tribe of Dan in the Bible. Most people haven't looked into this, but no, but the 12 tribes are Western Europe, Europe in whole, basically, and the United States. I will get into that probably when I do. I'm going to do a Bible reading, and I'm going to show people exactly how it's played out. And it does talk about humans being at the bottom of the sea, and it's talking about that if you think you're going to hide there, the serpent. I will send the serpent after you. They didn't have submersible crafts in the Bible 2,000 years ago, so there's so many things that are clear about it being today. So we'll get back to the double-headed phoenix. It's Scotland, Trump International Golf Links. So you've got this is heavily Masonic. Now, what do we see right here? This is in we'll call it a church. Russia's Vladimir Putin sworn in for another, I think the last time I did this, I said it incorrectly. I think this is his, this is a 6-year, I think it's a 4th term that he gets for 6 years. So he's been sworn in again and again. But here he is going down the stairwell through the long coronation hall, and we've got the symbol again. So matching symbols. There we got matching hand signs. We've got this on the back of a Russian coin, and we got this. And we also have what I covered in my last video regarding this symbol, what this Assyrian symbol stands for. The rarity of a Russian double eagle-headed coin. The British monarchs also have used that symbol as well. We've got the all-seeing eye in this church. This is not a Christian church. Many churches are not. If you look at the iconography within the churches, they are satanic churches that are pretending to be, and the symbols will tell whether or not how far off the mark the church has actually gone. But again, you've got the double-headed phoenix up here, and we have Putin's oath, which was 33 words, in which that number seems to bounce around in high places of significance regarding a specific location on Earth, written in the 2,300-year-old book of Enoch. Significance of number 51 and 33, Freemasonry. Stanley Kubrick's 2001 Space Odyssey came out 33 years prior in 1968. So this movie came out 33 years before the actual year that was depicted. Coincidence? I don't think so. In 1947, the Area 51 Roswell UFO allegedly landed at 33.33 degrees north latitude. Mount Herman is on the 33rd parallel and 33rd latitude of Earth, and the entire latitude and longitudinal system of our planet was designed to highlight that spot. Vatican 33 Angel. This is a hotel in the Vatican. You will find this number floating around art exhibits. They know who the angels of the 33rd parallel are. I've covered this so many times in what the Vatican actually is. Iconography, symbolism, it's everywhere there. This is not a place that if you're a Christian and you look around and you understand symbols, you're going to understand what the 33 angels are about. The 33rd degree law of Masonic Phoenicians. In the Book of Enoch, Mount Herman is the place. This is the place where the fallen angels came to earth. We also have the United Nations having a base there on Mount Herman. This is more Freemason symbolry. We've got the all-seeing eye right here. Again, this is Tribe of Dan. This is the reason why they are excluded in the Book of Revelation from the 144,000 kings that will rule with Christ in the Messianic kingdom. Their tribe is the only one of the 12 that is excluded, and the tribe of Joseph was broken up into Manasseh and Ephraim. So there will still be the 12 tribes, 12,000 apiece, 144,000, but this tribe is not one of them. Again, we've got him, famous Luciferian, with his famous writings that can be looked up. Again, chasing symbols. All these symbols mean things. And again, original and complete rituals of the First Supreme Council, 33rd degree. Just like that cube as I left Israel. And there's the symbol up here. And these symbols also tie into the bloodlines of the individuals wearing crowns with the same symbols in Britain, which I covered in this video. Taken away. These are Assyrian. These are who led the northern tribe of Israel off into exile, which has never come back. You want to watch that, you might find out who you really are. Or in my case, as I approach the airport terminal in Israel, depart to see this. Okay. Cube worship, Saturn, Satan, and the World Trade Center. Okay. I just see it all day long. And at the other end of the same trip, my last moments in an airport are staring down at this. Is this just coincidence, or is this predictive programming being purposely thrown in my face to make a point? I took this picture. I looked up. I was in a convenience store in Israel. You can see the Hebrew writing right here. I looked up and I saw that. Had to take a picture. Chases me all the time. Do you know the hour? Revelation 12. And then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on its head. This is bringing the 7 heads. 7 Earth-sized planets orbit dwarf star NASA. Okay, now they're talking about 7, all 7 could harbor life. Isn't that amazing? We've never heard that before, that all 7 in one solar system could do that. So, again, more of the same. All 7 planets seen in the sky. There's so much going on. I'm going to put out another video here shortly regarding some of the videos people have put out. And again, we've got, and on his head 7 diadems. Okay, this is on the head of the red dragon. A diadem, a jeweled crown or headband worn as a symbol of sovereignty. These planets are occupied. Eye of Providence, they play it off as it's Christian iconography. It's the eye of God. No, it is not. What a lie. Yahweh, our Hebrew God of the Bible, delivered his children out of Egypt, not into it. Satan is Hebrew for the adversary. He has arrived above us. Do you have on the full armor? Read me. God bless everyone.